A new report assesses the threats against pro-life people and organizations following the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Religious pro-life Americans under attack is from the Religious Freedom Institute. The group commissioned a former FBI counter-terrorism and intelligence expert to assess crimes against pro-lifers. The expert also outlined the prospects for future attacks and how the government and local officials should be responding. Among the report's findings, against Catholic targets alone since the end of May 2020, there have been 4 incidents of a person being assaulted, 26 incidents of arson, 66 of property being destroyed, and 81 incidents of graffiti. We turn now to Nathaniel Hurd, director of the Religious Freedom Institute's North American Action Team, which took the lead on this report. Nathaniel, thank you so much for being here.
It's good to be with you.
So let's talk a little bit more about this report and why you all decided to commission it.
What struck us was, one, just the volume of the attacks. In a very short period of time, you had 63 pro-life organizations, mostly pregnancy centers helping women and their unborn and born children. But not just locally. This was a national thing that was happening. 26 states plus the District of Columbia. And what struck us was that this was happening against a backdrop, as you mentioned, of these attacks on Catholic churches. In that case, 174 Catholic sites, mostly churches, attacked. And the response from federal law enforcement and from the media, for the most part, has been the same. Silence. Yeah. And that's why we did the investigation.
You know, it's so important that you did it, and so thank you so much, from all of us that you did. What do you think should be the government's response here?
There was a time in America where if a church was attacked, any place of worship was attacked, a religious organization was attacked, people across the political and philosophical and religious spectrum condemned it. Government officials condemned it. Elected officials condemned it. And government authorities responded strongly. They investigated, they arrested, they prosecuted, they secured convictions. By contrast, we've seen this silence. And so it seems as if there's a different standard for religious people who hold views that are not necessarily shared by the current administration.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what do you think is behind the silence?
I think it's, 2 standards. But that's not the America that we should live in. People should be able to disagree with each other. They should be able to do so respectfully and peacefully. But the government, particularly law enforcement agencies, have a sacred responsibility to protect the public, regardless of their views on things that are contentious among Americans, questions like abortion.
Yeah. What do you hope comes from these findings, going forward with this report?
For us, a combination of things. One, whenever there's an attack, regardless of who it's against, there should be condemnation. 2, investigations, arrests, prosecutions, but then also organizations themselves, churches themselves, dioceses themselves, also need to strengthen their preparation. We see as we look across the country, there's a lot of variation between parishes, between dioceses, between pro-life organizations. Some they've taken the threat very seriously. They've taken steps to ensure that they've done the training, that they've secured their physical sites. And there are others who I think, frankly, hope that if they just keep their heads down, they're going to be left alone. And I think what we've seen with the attacks on Catholic churches and the pro-life organizations, that if people have not been attacked yet, there's a very high probability that they will be in the future. That was one of the key findings from the report.
We're literally almost out of time, but I'm quickly wondering where do you see this all going, Nathaniel?
Well, our report forecasts continued attacks. We're hoping that's not the case, but that seems likely in the near term. That's why at RFI, we're undertaking a multi-year investigation to look at these attacks and to report on them. You can find the report at rfi.org, but we want action. We want action from the government. We want action from elected authorities, and we're hoping that more media outlets take their responsibilities seriously and cover these attacks.
Well, thank you for doing this report. Thank you for coming on to share all this with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.